Good afternoon, and welcome to Your Connection to Resources, the Capacity Building Center for Tribes and Information Gateway. Before we get started with our presentation today, just a few housekeeping items. First of all of us at Information Gateway are very excited for the opportunity to partner with the Center for Tribes today to bring this critically important content to you. So I just wanted to take a moment and thank the Center for Tribes for their collaboration with us at Information Gateway around this webinar today. All of our audio lines are muted at this time except for our speakers. So if you have a question or a comment, please enter it into the question box. We will be saving all content questions for the end of the presentation. Also note that there is a chat box available for people to share thoughts, comments, and ideas. Just make sure that the to box is populated with all panelists and attendees so that we can all be a part of the discussion. We are recording today's webinar, and we'll be posting it to the Center for Tribes YouTube channel. Following the webinar, we will send a link to a very short survey. Please take a few minutes to complete the survey. We do review your feedback very carefully and use it to inform future webinars. At this time, I'd like to turn things over to Jackie Croshoe with the Center for States to welcome everybody.
Bonjour, Indinawe Maganug. Hello, my relatives. Indigenakas Gakadus Aki. My spirit name is Star Woman. My English name is Jackie Croshoe, and I probably met some of you out there, and I just want to give you a big welcome to this webinar today. I come from the Fish Clan and enrolled in the Turtle Mountain Band in North Dakota. I am super excited to have you all here today. I also just want to share my gratitude for the opportunity to collaborate with the Child Welfare Information Gateway and share tools with you today. I was able to witness a lot of the work that went into this collaboration, the passion and desire to really make today's call successful and give you the resources you need, and really looking at being inclusive when we're providing these resources and sharing them with you. And just recognize you as sovereign nations, you know, the original keepers of the land that we are on today. The work we do and the conversations we are having are for our tribal children. They're for tribal child welfare professionals like yourselves. We want to share and we want to learn from one another. And as Indigenous people, we often see our work in child welfare being for our relatives, for our children. We say Indinawe Maganug means my relatives, or in Dakota, we say Mitakiawasen, which is we are all related. So with that said, I want us to enjoy our time, and I want to thank you for being here. And now I'll turn it back over to Child Welfare Information Gateway, Miigwech, and I'm going to give you back to Elizabeth. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jackie. That was a beautiful welcome. So thank you so much for doing that. Before we dive into our content today, we just wanted to offer a short activity so that we can get to know one another a little. I'd like to invite everyone to open a new browser on your computers and go to www.menti.com and enter code 61013606. And that information is on the slide. And just list one thing for you that you are most looking forward to about summer. For me, it's fresh mint from my garden for my iced tea, which I drink constantly throughout the day. So that's what I'm most looking forward to about this summer. While you all are going ahead and doing that, and again, that's www.menti.com and enter code 61013606. I'm going to ask our presenters to take a moment, introduce themselves, and also share something they're anticipating this summer. Let's go ahead and start with our partners at the Center for Tribes. And Nancy, would you like to kick us off?
Good afternoon. I'm Nancy Lucero, a member of the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians, and I'm a co-director at the Capacity Building Center for Tribes, and really pleased to be asked to be here with all of you, and thank all my colleagues, Jackie and my Center for Tribes colleagues, as well as our partners at the Information Gateway. And I hope we have a really wonderful day today. I'm just looking forward to summer. I'm a farmer, and that's the time where my husband and I really get to be outside and working on our land and taking care of our land.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nancy. Jackie, would you like to go next?
I feel like I did. I introduced myself. Bonjour, everyone.
Okay. Any particular anticipation for the summer?
Ceremonies is summer for us, and I'm looking forward to it because last summer many of them were canceled. So ceremonies definitely.
Fantastic. And Laura.
Hi, everyone. It's Laura Dyer with the Center for Tribes. I am looking forward to a lot of camping trips with my little family this summer.
Wonderful. Thank you. And did I miss anyone? I think that's everyone from the center side, correct? All right. I'm going to go over to Gateway. And Cynthia, could you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Cynthia Peterson with Child Welfare Information Gateway. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. I would say the thing that I am looking forward to most is a beach vacation. I have missed being able to just put my feet in the sand and soak in the sun. And I plan a couple of trips like that with girlfriends, my family. So I'm hoping to cover the gamut.
Fantastic. Jessie Heckenmueller, would you like to go ahead?
Hi everyone, I'm Jessie. I'm with Child Welfare Information Gateway and sharing my screen. I am really looking forward to kayaking and hiking and really just spending time with nature and around plants. So that's what I'm looking forward to this summer. And Alice?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alice Yam, and I also work at Child Welfare Information Gateway. For summer, I'm very excited about barbecues and spending time with my family members. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. All right. Just very quickly to cover our agenda. So we've done our introductions. We're going to shift over and talk a little about Information Gateway, do an intro and a website tour. We'll then move to the Capacity Building Center for Tribes, their intro and their website tour. They'll also talk a little bit about Tribal Title 4E, 4B, and Tribal State Partnership resources. And then we will close with a time for a question and answer and provide you with some information on how to stay in touch. Again, just as a reminder, as you think of questions, please go ahead and enter them into the Q&A box. We will be saving them for the end, but we have saved time for them. So please go ahead and enter any questions that you have in the box. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Cynthia Peterson at Child Welfare Information Gateway.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I just put a reminder in the chat box, just so that way we're also able to get to know you. During the presentation, you can go ahead and put in your name and your role into the chat box. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with one of our poll questions, just to get a pulse of who all is here with us and how familiar you are with Child Welfare Information Gateway. So the first question is on a scale to 1 to 5. Could you let us know just how familiar you are with Child Welfare Information Gateway? Okay, great. So based upon the results, it looks like some of you know about it and have used it a little. That's about 42%. And then we just kind of go either being very familiar or not hearing about us at all. And so that's really great information for me to have as I dive into the Information Gateway part of this presentation. It sounds like some of you are familiar, but majority of you probably could use a little information about who we are and who we serve. So moving on to the next slide, just to give you a little bit of background about us, we are the Information Service of the Children's Bureau. And the Children's Bureau is part of the National Department of Health and Human Services under the Administration of Children and Families. And the Children's Bureau seeks to improve outcomes in the following areas: safety, permanency, and well-being of children, youth, and families. A little bit about our history. Information Gateway actually exists because of a federal law, and it's through the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act of 1974. And that was the first piece of major legislation that provided a mandate to provide child welfare, a child welfare clearinghouse for the field. And so with that, there was a clearinghouse that was developed, and some of you may be familiar with the old National Adoption Information Clearinghouse. But since then, since 2006, those clearinghouses were combined and is what is now known as Information Gateway. So a little bit about who we are. Information Gateway's mission is very similar to the Children's Bureau. Actually, it mirrors it. And we are here to promote the safety, permanency, and well-being of children, youth, and families. And we really do that by connecting professionals and the public to practical and timely essential information on a variety of child welfare topics. So pretty much from topics to programs, research, on through training and other types of resources. Anything kind of working within and around child welfare. So on the next slide, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about what types of information you can find on Information Gateway. And our topical scope is pretty broad. We cover the spectrum of child welfare, the entire continuum from prevention to permanency. So you can see the various different types of information that you will find on the Information Gateway website. And one of the places that we're going to spend most of our time today is in this bucket here called System-Wide Issues and Information. And based upon the title, you may not be able to decipher exactly what you will find there. And that's what today's webinar is all about. So under System-Wide, you'll find information about domestic violence, human trafficking, immigration, courts, youth, and where we're going to spend most of our time today is under diverse populations. And you can also find information about LGBTQ plus youth in this section as well. So who do we serve? Our first order of business is to serve the frontline child welfare professional. Those would be the supervisors and directors, then the child welfare decision makers, so our agency administrators and managers, related professionals like juvenile justice, mental health, law enforcement, and then the public, which would cover birth parents, adoptive and foster parents, and children and youth in out-of-home care. So before we get into the live demonstration, which Jessie is going to help me with, I wanted to get just an informal idea of who on this call is familiar and knows where the tribal resources are on Child Welfare Information Gateway. And you can do this by using the raise your hand feature within Zoom, or you can simply add in the chat yes or no. And so that will just kind of give me an idea of how familiar you are with the tribal resources on Information Gateway. Okay, Caitlin says no. Medium awareness. Heather says no. Sarah says minimal. And Hunter says no. So based upon this, I'm really glad that we're able to bring this information to you all today, because it sounds like majority of you, even if you are familiar with Information Gateway, you may not necessarily be familiar with where the tribal child welfare resources are on Information Gateway. So with that, I'm going to start with a quick overview of our navigation bar. I'm going to skip over topics from right now, and Jesse, we're going to go over to publications. So one of the things I wanted to just show briefly to you all is that Information Gateway does provide a variety of different type of publications for child welfare professionals, for families. We have issue briefs that go over a broad array of different topics, but you can look for those publications via the series, the topic, the title, and then you can also access any of our Spanish language titles by going to this publications tab. Then next we have the library. You can come here, you can do an individual search for information that you're looking for. We have a library with over 100,000 different titles available in there. And so you can do an independent search. If you don't find what you're looking for, I'll show you a little bit later how to get in contact with the information support specialist who can get you connected to one of our librarians who can help with a variety of different information needs, from tailored annotative bibliographies, or if you go on our site and you see a view abstract and you would like a full title resource, you can request that as well. So moving over to state resources, one of the things I wanted to show you or talk to you about is our state statutes. It's a wonderful resource, and we do have a state statute that links to state and tribal child welfare laws and policies. So that's something that you might want to check out. Under more tools and resources, one of the things I wanted to point out is that we do have a podcast series. And the podcast series, just like Information Gateway, covers the gamut of child welfare. But during today's presentation, I am going to show you some of the tribal specific podcasts that have been developed over the last few years. Under news and events, this is where you can come and you can sign up for our free subscription services. You don't have to worry about your information getting out. We use it to send out information like what's been updated on Information Gateway. If you have a particular topic in mind, we can send you an email monthly, kind of letting you know what's been added to the website or to our library in regards to that topic. You can also sign up for the Children's Bureau's Express. It's the Children's Bureau's online news digest, and that really focuses on the latest and greatest best practices in child welfare. And last but not least, we have an event calendar. So if you are looking for events either nationally or statewide, you can come here and you can find information like on the NICWE conference that is done annually. If you have a state conference that you would like to have a broader reach, you can always get in contact with us and we can add it to the event calendar, and then anyone coming to Information Gateway would have access to register to your event. So with that, I'm going to pop us back over to topics. And the first place that we're going to go is to system-wide. And we're going to go under diverse populations and communities. And then this is our section where we really try to make sure that we house all of the different types of audiences so that we're able to provide information that helps in terms of engaging families and improving outcomes for a variety of different audiences. So the first place we're going to go is to working with children, American Indian children and families. And I'm briefly going to highlight this particular section because this is the section that is really tailored for non-tribal child welfare professionals. So if you're working with those in the field and they don't have a lot of tribal child welfare knowledge, you can point them here to this page. It goes through the historical and political background. There's information about ICWA, and it really covers the gamut of child welfare from prevention on through permanency with mental health and training resources available as well. So from here, we're gonna go to, Jesse, if you don't mind clicking on the ICWA page. I just wanted to highlight a couple of resources here. I know that this was one of the topics that you all stated you were interested in terms of partnerships and collaborations and different things like that. So this page, our users have really found the guidelines for implementing ICWA helpful. There are some practical guides that are available here. There are webinars available as well. And then there is an online course. So if you are looking to get additional information and background, this is the page on Information Gateway that would provide that. So moving along from ICWA, I wanted to show you one of the general information pages going back to preventing child abuse and neglect, going to developing and sustaining prevention programs. And we are going to go under collaborations and partnerships. And because this was one of the topics that you all said that you were most interested in, I just wanted to briefly highlight that this is the page where human service agencies can come and learn more about collaborating with your community, cross-system collaboration. And because child welfare cannot do this work in a silo, there's also information for collaborating and partnerships with related professionals. So I just wanted to highlight that. I know partnerships and collaboration is important, and this is where you can come and maybe get some framework to help enhance the work that you're already doing in your area with children, youth, and families. So the next section we're going to pop back over to is back over into diverse populations and communities. And we're going to go to resources for tribal professionals. And this is the page where it is dedicated for tribal child welfare professionals and providing resources to help you provide services to tribal children and families. What's really great about this page is that you can come here, you can get links to the Capacity Building Center for Tribes. You can also get links to some of the national organizations and information that helps with leadership, and links to the National Native Children's Trauma Center. So a lot of the major tribal organizations that is designed to help do this work, you can find here on this page. So Jesse, I know we just have a couple more minutes. And so what I wanted to do was just briefly show you our search function, because I know I've gone through a lot of information very quickly. But anytime that you are on Information Gateway and you're like, I would like to find information on X, Y, and Z, you come here to the search. So I'm gonna have Jesse put ICWA into the search. What's really nice is that based upon the topic, our search will provide you with anything that Information Gateway has developed on that particular topic. So that will be any of our web pages, our print products, and any of our podcasts and anything else. If we've developed a training, it would be here. So I'm going to have Jesse click on the fact sheet that I wanted to just highlight for you. Information Gateway has just developed an ICWA primer for child welfare professionals. You can come, like I said, you can just do the search. It's populated there, and it's also on the various different pages that I just showed you. But this is a really great tool that goes over the background and a lot of different considerations for collaboration and partnerships within tribal nations. So I just wanted to highlight that for you real quick. And the last thing I'm going to do is show you how to stay connected to Child Welfare Information Gateway in like 2 seconds, so that you have that information and I can go ahead and hand it over to the Center for Tribes, who has definitely much more tailored information that they're going to be sharing with you. All right, so if you scroll down to the bottom here, you can contact us by using the 800 number. You can speak to a live information support specialist. You can email us, and you can also chat via our live chat with the information support specialist. And you can also connect with us via Facebook and Twitter. So with that, I am about ready to turn it over to Nancy, but last but not least, I need to let you all know that please sign up for our subscription services, because the web sections that I just shared with you all are going to be updated. We're looking to bring some new content to you all in the fall. And so if you would like to have that hot off the presses, please sign up so you can stay connected, and we can send you an email letting you know when all of this great content is updated. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Lucero, who's going to go over more information that's tailored for you and your needs from the Capacity Building Center for Tribes. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Cynthia. I really appreciate that. I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction to the Center for Tribes and talk about the 3 levels of services that we provide for tribes. And then Jackie's going to spend some quality time with you going through many of our resources that are available to you. Jesse, you can advance the slide. The Capacity Building Center for Tribes is one of 3 centers, along with the Center for States and the Center for Tribes, that comprise the Capacity Building Collaborative. The Capacity Building Center for Tribes delivers culturally responsive and trauma-informed capacity building services to tribal child welfare programs receiving federal Titles 4B and 4E funding. Our collaborative and relational approach supports programs' efforts as they work to create healthy futures for Native children, strengthen families, and help enhance well-being in their tribal communities and preserve tribal cultures. You'll see here several of the important values and principles that we operate our center upon. Besides being culturally responsive and collaborative, we place a great value on being respectful of tribal ways and the needs of tribes as they're expressed to us, and also honoring tribal sovereignty. Finally, we are very focused on outcomes and making sure that the work that we do with the tribes meets their needs and creates that enhanced capacity that helps them go on to better administer their programs and deliver services to their children and families. The Center for Tribes offers a number of online resources, which Jackie is going to be focusing on today. We also offer peer groups and one-on-one peer connections between tribes. We have a Tribal Leadership Academy, as well as an upcoming Tribal Worker Academy. We'll also be launching an initiative to help tribes and states come together as a team to work on enhancing their ICWA practice. And we also do individualized consultations and longer-term projects to support organizational change. Another way you may hear of our project services described is what you see here as universal services. Again, the products, resources, and tools, webinars, and e-learnings that Jackie will talk to you about. Our targeted services, which are those academies, peer groups, the tribal state efforts, and tailored services, which are the individualized projects. We really have kind of an overarching charge to be trauma-informed and incorporate resiliency in what we do, as well as to support Title 4E programs. And I should just say overall to support Title 4B programs as well. Building peer connections is another really important facet of our services. Tribes have told us numerous times that they want to learn with each other and from each other. So another focus of our work is facilitating these connections. The connections really aim to build knowledge and skills and foster communication between tribes, as well as help tribes build relationships with each other so that they can call on one another when they have questions or would like support. Our one-on-one peer connections are done at the request of a tribe. These typically, we'll call them peer engagements. We facilitate this. A tribe will reach out to us and say, for example, we'd like to talk to another tribe that has moved from a kind of pen and paper system of tracking our programs to an electronic data system. We also have peer groups going on all the time around emerging issues. We've got one that just finished and we'll be repeating soon on self-care for tribal child welfare professionals. We are looking at having a group for Title IV-B directors so that they can support one another. And we also have peer groups that are around particular constituencies. So individuals performing the same type of work activities. As I teased earlier, we are working on an initiative to bring tribes and states together in small groups to build relationships with one another, get to know each other, help their systems understand each other's perspectives in doing this work, and also work together to make some needed changes within their systems. And then our peer learning opportunities include our worker and leadership academies. And Jesse, will you take me to the next slide? We have our tailored services or tailored consultations. And these really are individualized short projects that focus on a particular area that we can provide technical assistance. So for example, we have had tribes reach out and want to develop Excel spreadsheets for collecting their data. Or they've reached out to us and wanted a deeper organizational assessment. Besides the shorter, more focused types of individualized work, we also are able to do longer term projects. This might be a year or 2 years. And these projects are really designed to address several components of deeper organizational change, such as developing a practice model or workforce onboarding and professional development program. So that's a very quick introduction to our services. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jackie for the really good stuff, who will explore our online resources with you.
Great. Thank you, Nancy, for that overview of our services. Hi again.
You're welcome.
Yep, I look forward to this. I know that some of this might be seeming to be fast and a lot of information, but we want to reassure you, that we will be following up with everybody, making sure, you're getting what you need. So I want to take now and turn over to our online resources. And just so you know, from the Center for Tribes, the online resources is really where we house our useful information from practical resources for tribal child welfare professionals that were developed by the Center for Tribes, which are webinar recordings such as this, apps that we've created, newsletters, online e-learnings, fact sheets, resource lists, and just tools and spreadsheets for you all. And some of those resources have been developed by other tribes for tribes. So we want to make sure that we really are providing resources that fit you in Indian country as we make them available. So Jesse's going to take us to the site, but I would love for you to answer a poll question before we get started. And if you want, go ahead and take a look at it. It's a yes, no one, it's easy. And I just want to get a sense of whether or not you have visited our Tribal Information Exchange site. Yes or no? And I am not able to see the answers coming in, so I am hoping that somebody can share those with me so I have an idea. So have you had an opportunity to visit the Tribal Information Exchange site? Okay, so this is good. I kind of feel like you, Cynthia. It's nice when we have a range of folks. One time the majority had visited, so we were like, oof, what do we talk about? But so we have 74 or 67% that said no, which is good. And for those of you who said yes, can you share in the chat like what brought you to the site? Did you receive an email from us? Were you looking for a specific resource? But just in the chat room, what brought you to TIE, how you found the Tribal Information Exchange. And part of that is just for our own curiosity. So as you do that, Jesse, here we are. So when you go into the Tribal Information Exchange site, this is what you are going to see. And today, what we wanted to do is really focus on some of the 4E and 4B and tribal state partnerships. So when you go in, you can see the menu bar here. And as you scroll down, as Jesse did, you know, we can take a look at a couple things today. We're going to focus on some partnership, but also the 4E and 4B. So if you were to click on 4E and 4B, this is what you're going to come to. And I think we have another poll question because we tried to target, okay, so when Nancy talked about some of the services that we provide, she indicated that our target audience is, yes, tribal child welfare professionals, but it's also recognizing that it's those tribes that have 4E or 4B. So I just want to get a sense from you out there, are you receiving Title 4B, yes or no? So that's the first one. And then the second question is, does your tribal child welfare program have 4E? And if so, you know, is it direct? Are you receiving the development grant? Do you have a pass-through with the state or county? Or none of the above? You do not have 4E or receive any funds. So if you could fill those out for me, it will help me just to get a better understanding of some of the knowledge you have out there and how much, you know, I'll go into some of these resources. Okay, so looks like the majority are receiving 4B, so that's good. And I do have some information for those of you that said no. We won't spend a lot of time, but at least I can get you to where you need to go to learn more about it if that is something you are interested in. The second question is, does your tribal child welfare program have, and we see that the majority have a pass-through, which I think is pretty typical what we see across the country. Some of you do have direct. So that's good. So good, I'm glad. I know when we were looking at like what topics do we pick, because Jesse showed you all of the resources we have, the majority are saying we'd like to learn more about 4E, we'd like to learn more about 4B. So that is where we want to take you. So Jesse, if you want to scroll down to our 4B, and since some of you have not, I want to just take a moment and share briefly that the Title 4B, they're operated by the Children's Bureau, which is an office of the Administration for Children and Families, and I think Cynthia went through some of that. But these funds are available to federally recognized tribes, tribal organizations, or tribal consortia. And they are a formula grant, so you know it's based on percentages of, that's provided to states and tribes. And really this is to help build tribal child welfare capacity. And they can be used to promote flexibility in the development and expansion of coordinated child and family service programs, you know, that utilize like community-based agencies or family support services, family preservation services. I'm just trying to throw out some examples of what we know tribes have used these funds for. And of course, it's not limited to, I'm just trying to give examples. Family slow down, Jackie. Family reunification services, and just to ensure that all children, you know, are raised in safe, loving homes. There are two parts to, as you see here on the screen, two parts to 4B, and I don't want to get too complicated. If you can, there is a document called Title 4B Funding Overview. You can click on that and upload it, and it will briefly talk about what subpart 1 is. When it comes to the funds and what it provides. And just briefly, that is where you find the support for preventative intervention, alternative placements, reunification efforts. And then there's the subpart 2. And again, you know, these can look like, you know, intensive family preservation services, mental health services, perhaps some peer-to-peer mentoring. And again, without wanting to skip details that are really important to these funds, I just want to encourage you to go to the site and take a look at that 4B resources, again, designed for tribes. So we're really trying to speak to the language that you know and understand as sovereign nations. That's some of the 4B. There are other resources in there, as you can see, as Jesse's scrolling down, an Excel workbook. I know a lot of folks, when one of our regional officers, Nanette, comes back, she talks about, okay, what I'm seeing is folks having a lot of questions on how they're doing the reporting. And she also alerted us that today was the due date, so we apologize if some of you felt torn, but decided to come anyways, and recognize that there is a lot of information that goes into the reporting. So we wanted to also build some tools that can help you do the best job you can do when it comes to either being knowledgeable about these resources, but answer questions like help us figure out ways that we can do the reporting as well. So the other resource is the Title 4E, Tribal Title 4E. And again, it looks like there were some of you that do not receive any. So I really kind of want to speak to you and recognize that, again, Title 4E is a part of the Social Security Act. It is an entitlement program, and it provides funds, again, for states and tribes to provide foster care, adoption assistance, optional guardianship assistance programs, administration and training costs. So it does provide, a lot of resources for tribes. And again, there is a lot to know and understand. So therefore, these products are designed, one of products that you're looking at here is it's specific for tribal governments and leaders. I recognize that sometimes when I was doing tribal child welfare work, I would get like our tribal chair or, somebody say to me, go after the Title 4E funds. And, we thought, okay, what can we create that can help our leaders understand and recognize the considerations and even some of the lessons learned when looking at whether or not their tribe wants to go after Title 4E funds. So that particular product was designed for that. But as you can see, we have pathways to tribal Title 4E. We have another one, which is more of an online tutorial that you can go in and to get more information. It can move you through these modules. Excellent resource that was done in support with some of our regional office staff, some of our Children's Bureau staff. And then again, we have the frequently asked questions. So this particular document helps with questions around getting started. So some of you could take a look at that. Planning, we have information and questions around reimbursements and jurisdictions and licensing. So as you can see, that frequently asked questions is really helpful because again, it's tribes saying, this was our lessons learned. This is what questions we have out there when we were exploring it. So love that document. And again, when we're talking about Tribal Title 4E and 4B, I also just want to remind folks, and Jesse, if you don't mind taking us to the map, because I want to encourage you guys to contact the Children's Bureau for any additional support and guidance or questions. That's what your regional program managers are for. And if you click on that white toolbar, it will pull up and you can determine, who you need to call for more information. The other thing we wanted to just highlight, because we were super excited about, is our tribal state partnership. You saw what Gateway shared regarding their partnership work. I want to share what we have to offer. And as you can see, Jesse's scrolling down, right? She's clicking on partnerships. And I believe we have another poll question for you, because again, I'm curious, do you have a current tribal child welfare agreement? Yes or no? And this can be, again, as you can see, the agreement could be with the state, Or it could be with a county if you're a state supervised, county administered state. But do you have some sort of tribal state agreement or tribal county agreement? And I know some refer to them as memorandums of understanding, memorandums of agreement, but I just want to get a sense how many of you have one. Yeah, majority of you have a tribal state agreement. It looks like 97% or 91%, I'm sorry. My grandma eyes are getting old. I should have my readers on actually. So yeah, 91% said you do have a tribal state agreement. Well, so with that, I still want to point out this amazing resource for you. You know, and recognizing that tribal child welfare practice delivery can look very different. You know, when I've had opportunities to travel across the country and go into various tribal organizations, that's one of the things I recognized is how different. We have a lot of things in common, but sometimes the governmental infrastructures can look very different. And we really wanted to recognize that when we were building a resource like this for you. You know, that tribes can operate and protect their children. We can have different government to government relationships. But just recognizing that tribes are full partners in the design and implementation of programs administered by states or by your counties, you know, or who are receiving funding from, you know, the Department of Health and Human Services. You are full partners. So when this was created, we had that in mind. We wanted to figure out what are ways that we can honor tribes coming in to these agreements. I recognize when I was working in the system, I didn't always feel like I had that. I sometimes just felt, oh, I'm just supposed to sign here or have our tribal leaders sign here. But this is a very comprehensive resource. It includes an extensive toolkit. It's intended to just assist tribes and also just in non-native partners with collaboration. So as you can see, we have voices from folks from non-native people and kind of what their experience is and has been, and as well as that indigenous voice. So those are interesting to listen to. And again, so when you click on that orange toolbar, Jesse, if you don't mind, I want to show you, it's almost like a little microsite. And you can see the menu bar she has up above. And it brings you to, you know, we have perspective, we have partnership, we have process, truth telling, and then there's the toolkit that I mentioned. I get pretty excited about this. You know, I was a part of helping to create this and feel very proud of what we thought about when we were looking at, you know, tribes coming to the table. What are some activities that you need? What are some agendas that you would like to have? What are some exercises or activities that you could bring? So that's the toolkit part. But the other section that I think some of you might be interested in is I feel like I'm going really fast, so I apologize. I could talk all day just on tribal state partnership. But so there is the truth telling menu bar there. And I just want to point folks out because we do get some questions about, especially now, what does truth, healing, and reconciliation look like? And so this page is really about what happened in Maine. So for those of you that are interested to kind of hear, what was the experience when the tribes came together with the state of Maine and did some truth and reconciliation work, some truth and healing work? What did that look like? So we've got some resources there for you to look at. And also contact information. If you want more about that, you can see the links in there that can take you to that. So that's all I'm going to say about the tribal state partnership. I get, again, super excited about it, but I also want to, since we have some time, I just want to take you to our Tools from Tribes page. And I said earlier, I talked about how much tribes benefit, and I think Nancy, you mentioned it with the peer groups, some of our targeted services, but tribes have really wanted to see what other tribes are doing. tribes have wanted to have examples of, you know, things like foster care licensing, or, you know, job descriptions, or, you know, what are some sharing agreements that other tribes have used? What does that look like? What are some case plans that other tribes have used, or court documents? And so this probably is one of our most frequently visited pages, which is the tools from tribes. So we know that this is an important resource for you all. We want to keep building on it. I want to put Esther's email in the chat because she is the one that has been helping to coordinate working with tribes. If they want to share resources, you know, you can just contact Esther. If you want them, we can do our best. I can't guarantee to de-identify some of those resources. So if you are interested in contributing, please do. Or without contacting Esther, I see Jesse, you can just click on in the site itself. So that I wanted to quickly point out. The next place I want to take you to is our library. And I appreciated, similarly, Gateway showed you, okay, if you missed any of this, this is how you search. So our searchable library contains over 400 resources, including articles, toolkits, and again, it's focused on Native communities. So it's really a kind of about us, for us. So you can go in there. And I think we have one more poll question that I'm curious about, and that is, what child welfare topics are you most interested in receiving resources on? And we have quite the list here, but if you don't mind, and it looks like you could have more than one choice. So if you could just tell us, what child welfare topics are you most interested in receiving? And again, just to clarify, so because we have so many resources, that not all of them have been created by us, but again, that they are focused on Native communities and by Native authors. So just a few more seconds here. What child welfare topics are you most interested in receiving resources on? This doesn't mean we're going to bombard you with emails either. It's just to give us an idea of what the majority of you are looking for, and if there's some common themes in this. Oh, it is mixed bag. Well, definitely prevention. So Jesse, if you don't mind, since a lot of folks ask for prevention, if you could put that in your toolbar and just, we can briefly show you what we have thus far in our resource library. Awesome. And just recognize that I see trauma was another one that was clicked on, or even, yeah, you could go ahead and put in trauma, Jesse. We are so blessed to have the National Native Children's Trauma Center as one of our partners with the Capacity Building Center for Tribes. So we have had just a beautiful relationship with them, and making sure that our products are trauma informed. We've provided webinars with them. We have a series that's coming out that we're excited to share. So pointing out to some of our trauma resources. You know, ICWA resources is another one that's big that folks have asked. We had an ICWA peer group for some time, and we ran, we learned a lot from tribes, and we had a lot of resources that we've been able to share from that. One is the ICWA Guide for Tribal Governments and Leaders. And Jesse, I don't know if you can pull up that poster. that's something that you can download and hang. I've seen a lot of folks put that into their, hang it in their office. They've given it to their tribal leaders. And this actually came from a guide that we created. And as you can see, there are 4 recommendations that came from that guide. We had a couple of our beautiful elders that helped work on this particular guide. And this was just more of like an overview of that guide that we really wanted tribal leaders to take a look at. There is also a downloadable app for that guide as well. So as you can see, I get pretty excited about our resources for you. Again, designed, you know, by Indigenous views for Indigenous people. The last thing I want to take us to is, and last but not least, I will say, it's just I want to share our YouTube page. This is where we carry all of our webinar recordings. And here you can see them when you go to the YouTube. Oh, Jesse's sharing you with the Active Efforts webinar. I'm glad you pointed that Active Efforts webinar out too, Jesse, because this is where all of the webinars are held, is on the YouTube page. So it's www.youtube.com. And you can subscribe to get notifications when new recordings are being posted. And Laura, of course, can put that YouTube channel in the chat room. Right now, we have about 104 subscribers. So we recognize that folks love to be able to go in, just find what the YouTube, or excuse me, what the webinars are, and click on whichever one you might be interested in. So there you go. Lots of resources. We have some beautiful self-care webinars that we did with Etheline and Rick Two Dogs, some work out of Alaska. So I get pretty excited to see, you know, all the webinars that we've done over the years. So that's it. So at the bottom of the TIE homepage is where you can find an easy button to connect with us. If you have any questions about services, about products, or something you can't find on the site, you can just contact us, drop us a line. There she has it pulled up. Or if you want to join our mailing list, again, you can subscribe there. Just assuming that many of you already are, you can also share this with a colleague or a friend to join. So with that, I know that was quick. I know that was a lot of information, but I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days. Busy day. I know that this has been a lot of information. We are going to put up our 1-800 number, as well as our email information, and again, the Tribal Information Exchange org site, so you have that. So I'm going to turn it back over to Elizabeth and Alice.
Great, thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you all for this really comprehensive review of the information that's available. You did cover a lot of ground in a relatively short time. So at this time, I'd like to open things up for questions and answers. We don't have any in the box currently, but if you all have questions, if there are particular types of resources that you're looking for that you either didn't see mentioned, or maybe we covered them, but we covered them kind of quickly and you'd like us to go back to them, go ahead and put something in the question box for us so that we can make sure everybody gets the information that they're looking for here. And while we're waiting for folks to enter questions, I just wanted to check in with our presenters and see if you all had any closing comments, anything you wish you had time to say that you didn't quite cover.
Thank you, Elizabeth. This is Cynthia. I realized that during my presentation, the links to some of the resources and tools that I pointed out were not shared in the chat. So we're populating those in the chat now. So we're hoping that you will just simply be able to click on those and access a lot of the great resources that were mentioned during the Information Gateway presentation, especially the podcast. I know I glossed over that, but there are some really great tribal partnerships with courts. We have a whole series of podcasts that are focused on that. And so I would be remiss to be on this webinar and not point out those wonderful resources. And like I said, those links are being populated in the chat, and we hope that you all will go and check those out.
Alice has just put those in, and I would like to take this opportunity as well to note that there are multiple ways that you can get in touch with Information Gateway, and we will happily help you find whatever you are looking for. We have an 800 number that you can call. We also have live chat that's available during the business day. Alice is one of the folks that you may reach if you contact us, but we have wonderful information associates who are available to help you find whatever you're looking for. And as Jackie mentioned, the Center for Tribes also has an 800 number, and you can reach out to them if you're having difficulty finding on the TIE the information that you're looking for. So I'd just like to leave this open for another minute to see if anyone has any questions, specific information that you're looking for. The Center for Tribes has just posted their contact information, their email, and their phone number. So please do get in touch with them. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close things up then, since we don't have any questions.
Thanks, Elizabeth. With that, on the behalf of the Capacity Building Center for Tribes and Child Welfare Information Gateway, we want to thank you for joining today's webinar. If you have additional questions, the contact information for each organization was listed for your convenience. Immediately following today's webinar, we are going to send out a short survey, and we hope that you'll take a moment to complete that and give us your feedback. We hope that you learned something new today, and this concludes today's webinar. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jackie to officially close us out.
Thank you, Cynthia. So I just want to say, Chi Miigwech, a big thank you just for all the work that you do and for participating today. I just want to thank your beautiful spirits and your powerful voices out there representing our families, and all the work you do. I don't think we thank you enough. So I say miigwech for that. I now ask that we again take a deep breath in, and now just let it out, knowing you are connected to the earth, knowing that you are connected to all creation, to all humanity. You are connected to your ancestors. We are connected to each other and connected to future generations. May you all have ease and love in the rest of your day, as well as the weekend that's in front of us. I keep thinking it's soon, it will be. But again, miigwech to everyone. Gigawabamin, nagudge. Mwah. Take care.